Well, hey, gang, Jim Jacobus. Welcome to our very first sales training webinar of the year 2015. Glad to have you guys with us. This webinar is titled 2015, the Year of Sales Mastery, What Will It Take to Become the Best of the Best? And I'm really excited about this. Let me start by saying welcome to everybody that's out there. Glad to have you guys on board. First thing, just hope you had an awesome holiday season. It's kind of good. I don't know about you, but good for us to kind of get 2014 behind us and really looking forward to an exciting 2015. Like I said, we have decided our theme for the year is 2015, the year of sales mastery. And like I said, really excited about that. That's what we're going to cover today. Let's do a quick little tech check. I noticed a couple of you have already typed in a question down there, but want to make sure everybody else understands on your dashboard there. If you want to communicate with us during the webinar, just type your question in the dashboard down there, and I will try to keep tabs on those. Like I said, try to. First focus is delivering the content, but I will stop every now and then, check on the questions, and answer any of those. It's also a great place for you to make a comment, if you will. If you like something you heard or whatever, feel free to do that. We like the encouragement there. So for now, do me a favor, type in where are you attending the webinar from right now? Where's your location that you're watching this from? Okay. All right. Obviously, you got people here in Houston. Glad to have you guys on board. Hey, Kurt. And let's see here. Bill Leslie is in Houston, Oklahoma City, George McDowell, Missouri City. Okay. Whoop. Okay, where else we got? Okay, UK. Got our folks over there in the UK with Axel Nobel paying attention today and here with us. Who else do we have here? Let's see what else we got going on. Edmonton. Welcome, Claire, from up in Edmonton, Canada. Sugarland, God's country. Yes, absolutely. All right, where else we've got? Folks down in Australia. Staying up late to catch this one. That's cool. I can't tell you how much fun I had with you guys down in Australia earlier this year, and not surprised at all that you're still up catching this webinar as well. So glad to have you guys on board. Let's see here. San Diego, Atlanta, Iowa. Man, I can't imagine. It's cold in Houston today and going to get colder. I cannot imagine how cold it is in Iowa right now. So anyway, all right. Well, glad to have you guys on board. And like I said, I'll keep checking in with those questions. If you've got a question or a comment, that's where you type those in at. And let me just make two quick announcements. I'm really excited about some things coming up here in 2015. For those of you who are premium members of our In the Sales Arena sales training, our primary lineup when we launched this thing back in October had one sales training webinar, one coaching call, and one interview with a sales master. We have added a second sales training webinar. So there will be two sales training webinars each month. And we didn't do that because we didn't feel like we were bringing you enough value for the money that you're paying for your membership. We actually added that because there was too much time between the live events from one month to the next. In other words, if we did a sales training webinar, then we did a coaching call, and then we put out one of our interviews, which was not a live event, it could be as much as 2 or 3 weeks before we were with you guys again. We did not like it, and got a little feedback that, hey, we really love your stuff, but it's too much time in between one event and the next. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, we'll just do 2 of them then. It's no big deal. So if you are one of our premium members, then you will be getting 2 sales training webinars a month like this one right here. The second announcement we're really excited about. We signed on and bought the platform to begin to deliver modular sales training, and we will have some of our first mods out there by the end of January. And what I mean by that is this. We'll do things like the sales process. We'll do things like value-based selling. Matter of fact, the 4 key elements you'll see in this webinar today will be things that we will eventually wind up placing in an online learning format. Really excited about it, using a tool called Digital Chalk. We vetted, those of you who know me know, we vetted a bunch of different systems. I really like what it brings to the table. We will start off with what I'm going to call a couple of niche products, if you will. And we're looking at doing a couple of products like how do you close sales in a more timely fashion. We're probably going to do something along the lines of how do you handle any um, um, objection that you would ever receive, including the price is too high objection. A couple of niche products like that. I'm certainly glad to have any feedback from you guys as to what kind of sales training would you value in an online format. So those are a couple of announcements as we look forward to 2015 that we're really excited about. And again, just really having a great time. We so appreciate all of you who are members of our In the Sales Arena premium sales training program there. So with no further ado, and let me see if I can get this technology working here. All right. I always like starting off with a quote, and we are talking about mastery in one of my favorite books on the planet. If you have not read Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers, I encourage you to read the book. It is an extraordinary book. I literally is one of those kind of books I couldn't put down. I was fascinated by it. In particular, I'm talking about 10,000 hours in order to master something. Well, I looked for a quote from Gladwell about mastery and everything, and this one is actually the one that jumped out at me. He said, hard work is a prison sentence only if it does not have meaning. And I cannot begin to tell you in the years that I've been out in front of people, speaking, training, doing consulting, how many people I have met whose work does not bring any kind of meaning to them. It is literally a job. It is work. I've always felt like the line between work and play should be so thin that people don't have any idea which one we're doing when they watch us do what we do. And so I like this quote, hard work is a prison sentence only if it does not have meaning. Once it does, it becomes the kind of thing that makes you grab your wife around the waist and dance a jig. And I just, like I said, I love that quote, thought it was outstanding. And so I wanted to use it to kick off our time together today. So let's look at our agenda for today. Here's what we're going to do. First thing is we're going to solve or begin to solve what I call the doesn't know problem. And I'm going to explain that to you in a little more depth here on the next slide. All right. So that's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to define what mastery is. All right. From a standpoint of sales, if you will. We're going to look at the 4 key elements that we believe goes into being a sales master. And then we're going to talk about why should you care about that stuff? Why should you want to get better at it? Why should you invest your time and energy? At the end of the day, I think every program we ever do, we've got to answer the question, why do I care? So that's our agenda. We're going to solve the doesn't know or begin to solve that problem. We're going to define mastery. We're going to give you an overview of the 4 key elements that go into sales mastery. And then we're going to talk about why should you care. All right. So when I talk about the doesn't know problem, there are 3 reasons why and 3 reasons alone that a sales professional doesn't do what they're supposed to or doesn't accomplish the goals that they want to accomplish. And by the way, same 3 reasons why employees don't do what they're supposed to, same 3 reasons why our kids don't do what they're supposed to. The same 3 reasons apply anytime you run into somebody that's not doing what they're supposed to or not getting the results that they want. They have these 3 reasons why. If I'm not accomplishing my goal or you're not accomplishing your goals, it's because of one of these 3 reasons and these 3 reasons alone. Now, that's pretty bold, but I'll allow you to decide whether or not it fits into these 3 categories. The problems do. Okay, so first problem is somebody doesn't know what to do. They've never been told what to do. All right. So that's the first one. We're gonna begin to solve that today when it comes to sales mastery. And I'm going to talk about what we need to do. All right. There's going to be some what to do, which is the next thing is they can't do it. In other words, they've never been trained. They've never been given the strategies, tactics, skills, or mindset to do something, which is what we focus on here. And so consequently, they can't do it because they've never been taught how to do it. They know what to do, but they've never been taught how to do it. And then the third challenge is they won't do it. Now, that's everything that we run into that a salesperson does or doesn't do is going to fall into one of these 3 categories. They either don't know what to do, they haven't been taught how to do it and given the tools to do it, or they won't do it, which means they're not motivated. So today we're going to talk about the doesn't know. All right. There won't be a whole lot of training here today, if you will, other than I'm going to share with you what it is we need to do. And then there will be some of the motivation, I hope. I hope when you see what it takes to be a master and we talk about why you'd want to do that, that there'll be some motivation that comes from that. All right. So 3 reasons why: doesn't know, can't do, and won't do. Now, today we're going to work on the doesn't know. That's the bottom line here. Now, let's define sales mastery. I looked sales mastery up in the dictionary, if you will, or I looked the word mastery up in the dictionary, and the Webster's dictionary said this: it's either the command of a subject or expert skill or knowledge. And I posted both of those here, and I actually wrote a blog about it the other day because I think it is both of these key elements. One is the command of the subject of what it means to sell, to be a real pro at it, and to have expert skill and knowledge. All right. And so I really believe those are two of the key things. So as we think about mastery, let me give you a couple of ways of looking at it. All right. I want us to look at it a couple of different ways. First thing is 3 types of salespeople. And yeah, I do a lot of 3s. Tends to be kind of the magic number. And some of you have seen this before, but if you haven't, I think you'll enjoy this. All right. 3 types of salespeople. First is what we call a UI. All right. That is an unconscious incompetent. Okay. Now, quick little note here. I'll give you a chance to interact. When I say that in a workshop, people kind of stop for a second, and a few minutes later or a few seconds later, they start chuckling. All right. An unconscious incompetent. They're not any good at what they do, and they have no clue they're not any good at what they do. All right. Now, do me a favor real quick. If you know somebody like this, or you got a little chuckle out of that, do me a favor, raise your hand. Let me see you raise your hand on your little dashboard down there. I want to see you raise your hand so I know that you know what I'm talking about. Unconscious incompetence. Somebody's not any good at what they do, and they have no clue they're not any good at it. Yeah, there we go. Okay. All right. Yeah, I tend to think we've all met somebody like that. And I would say I probably have thought at some point in time, I've at least been that way. And maybe we've all been that way at some point in time. So that's the unconscious competent. Now, first thing I tell you is there's nobody that is an unconscious incompetent on the phone call today because they don't take webinars. They don't get into learning environments or what have you. They don't have the awareness to realize they even know that they need help. So we wouldn't have anybody on this webinar like that. Okay. Now the second group is what we call the unconscious competent. This group is good at what they do. They just don't know how they're doing it. They have no idea why they're good at it. Okay. They're good, but they don't know why. And I would tell you, my experience is that about 90% of the salespeople in the sales training programs that we do fall into this category. They're good at what they do, but they don't really know why they're good at it. And there's 2 main problems that comes with being an unconscious competent. The first problem is this: we will never become extraordinary at what we do. I do not think an unconscious competent can fully become a master in the arena of sales. And here's why. One, they don't know what they're good at, and so they can't leverage that more effectively. And 2, they're not aware of what they're not good at, so they can't learn and or mitigate that weakness in order to be more successful. So the first problem with being an unconscious competent is we don't know what makes us good or bad, and so we can't become a master because we don't know how to get better. The second challenge I think that comes with becoming a sales master as a UC is the idea that we can't teach anybody else. And I believe that part of mastery comes with the ability to teach other people and to communicate what we've learned about a certain subject, in this case, sales, to others. So UCs can be very successful, but I don't think they can fully become masters. 1, because they have a hard time getting to the top by learning, and 2, they can't teach others. So that's the second category. The third category is what we call a CC, or a conscious competent. They're good at what they do, and they know why they're good at it. If we are fully going to become a master of this profession we call sales, if indeed that is possible, then we need to become a conscious competent. We're good at what we do. We know why we're good at it. We know what our strengths are. We're constantly leveraging those. We also understand what our challenges are, and we're doing everything we can to improve in those challenges, or we're doing what we can to mitigate those challenges when it comes to how it impacts our effectiveness. So those are 3 types of salespeople, and we're all going to fit into one of those 3 categories. Our goal is to become a conscious competent, to become that master of sales. Now, I'm a fan of Tiger Woods. Without thinking about his personal challenges and everything, which, I certainly wish he hadn't had those. I struggle with, with condemning him simply because I'm aware of my own lack of perfection and everything. But when it comes to mastery of the golf game, Tiger Woods is clearly one of the 2 or 3 best there's ever been. I read a book last year called The Big Miss, written by Hank Haney, who was Tiger Woods' coach, if you will, for a period of time. And it was his coach during a period of time when he was absolutely dominant. Now, I highly recommend the book, particularly if you do coaching or consulting. There was some criticism of Hank Haney for writing that book as Tiger Woods' coach. But I will tell you, there was very, very little about Tiger's challenges in the book. The book was mostly about Hank's approach to coaching Tiger, and then some just great stories about Tiger's mastery and what have you. So I really recommend the book. I actually listened to it on Audible and found it mesmerizing. So I would encourage you, if you like that kind of stuff, to read it. And if you don't particularly hate Tiger Woods, it would be a good read as well. But here's one of the things in the book that I thought described mastery at the highest level. And if you play golf, you'll fully understand this. If you don't, try to understand the mastery it takes to do this. In a golf bag, there are 14 clubs. One of them is a putter that we only use on the green. The other 13 are used to strike the ball. Depending upon the loft of that club and the length of the club determines how far you can hit that ball and how high you'll hit that ball. Tiger Woods would go into a practice session where he would hit all 13 clubs 9 different iterations, if you will. All right, let's say he was hitting a 5-iron. He would hit the 5-iron low, medium, high. He would hit the 5-iron with what is called a draw for a right-hander, which is where it curves from right to left, with a cut where it curves from left to right, and he would hit it straight. So you've got 9 different iterations of how you would hit that club, low, medium, high. You would draw the ball, you would hit the ball straight, and you would cut the ball. He would hit each one of those clubs those 9 times, 10 times in a row to his satisfaction, or he would start back over again with that club. All right. So if he had hit 8 of the 9 iterations, 8 times perfectly, 10 times perfectly for 8 of those iterations, and in the 9th iteration, he would hit 8 shots and hit one imperfectly on the 9th shot, he would start over with that club. And he would do that until he went through all 13 clubs in a practice session and would be able to hit that set of combination of shots. Now, folks, that is a level of mastery that even I have a hard time comprehending. But here's what would happen. When Tiger Woods got on the golf course and he was presented with a shot, all right, under pressure, playing for titles and literally millions of dollars, the shot that was required, regardless of where he was on the golf course, whether it seemed to be simple or it was incredibly complicated, he had practiced that particular shot thousands of times. All right, so he stood in the middle of a golf course with supreme confidence when it came to hitting the shot that was required. Now, did he make mistakes? Absolutely did. And today he makes a lot of mistakes. This is one reason why he's not winning very much anymore. But at that time, he had that kind of mastery. Now, I'm talking about you and I having that same kind of mastery in the sales profession. And let's kind of look at it this way. Here's, for instance, let's say if your client said your price is too high, or they said, why should I buy from you? Or they said something like, your boss is trying to figure out how you're going to blow away your quota this year and everything. Those kinds of things come up. We're presented with that like Tiger Woods was presented with a shot in the middle of a fairway or in a sand trap or whatever situation he was in. I want us to know the answer to that the same as if I ask you, what's your birthday? All right? So do me a favor, real quick there where your questions are. Type in, what's your birthday? All right? Let's see if you know that. Do you know the answer to that? What's your birthday? Okay. Does everybody know the answer? Let me see what's your birthday. All right. Good deal. See, the most of you guys are there. All right, good. Most everybody. Some of you now typing in your birthdays. I didn't ask you to put the year. You don't have to do that. You don't have to worry about it. I'm probably older than most of you. But anyway, here's what I'm trying to say, all right? That's the kind of mastery of sales that we want to have so that no matter what we're presented with, we know the answer to it the same as if we know what's your birthday. So Let's talk about what it's going to take. I'm going to walk through 4 different ideas here, and then I'm going to dive into those a little bit, but we're not going to get into too much depth today because, quite frankly, it would take several days to do that. All right. So, 4 key elements to mastering the sales. Key number 1, all right, we have to execute a proven process. Execute a proven process that is designed to deliver results. Second thing is, got to be able to know the value we bring to the table. All right, completely understand the value that our company, that our products and services, and that we personally bring to the table for our clients. Key number 3 is we want to be intentional about building what we call high return on investment relationships. Level 5 and 6 relationships is what we call those. And then key number 4 is we need to become at a core level, on an internal level, extraordinary at what we do. Now let's take a look at those 4. Key number 1, executing a consistent sales process. And I'm sorry, for those of you in Canada, process, all right? For those of you in Europe with us right now, I learned whenever I was over doing work earlier this year in Amsterdam to use the word process from time to time and make my UK and European friends a little more comfortable instead of saying process. And I got pretty good at it, but now I'm back in the process mode. So here's the sales process that we teach. Planning, prospecting, first impressions, qualifying, demonstrating, influencing, closing, and follow-up. That's what we teach in our workshops. As we move through the year, you'll see a lot more of this in the future from the standpoint of webinars and podcasts and blogs and stuff like that. Now, I will tell you, I am not a process guy. I'm a people guy. My greatest sales strength is in my ability to relate to others. But I did not become as good as I could be in sales until I recognized the need to master and execute 8 steps to the sale. Now, if you look at all of those, they all seem somewhat benign. Reality is, if I don't do a good job at any of these, all right, if I'm not good at planning, if I don't prospect properly, if I don't create great first impressions, I don't qualify by asking the right questions, I don't demonstrate or present the product well, I don't handle in the influencing phase the objections and negotiations, if I can't close effectively, if I don't follow up well, any one of those, if not mastered, is going to keep me from getting fully the results that I need. All right? Does that make sense? I have to be a master at any one of those. If I am not, I will either waste time and or money. And by the way, time is money. Okay? So let me stop here real quick and see if anybody has any questions about this or any comments. All right? If you've got any questions or comments, type them in there real quick. Let me know you're out there. Tell me what you're thinking right now. Okay. Come on, guys, help me out here. I know a couple of you guys are always got comments, so don't make me turn on your microphone and ask you a question out loud, all right? Okay, there we go. In the planning phase, is it more than just reviewing the process? Bill, first thing, that's a great question. Yes, from a planning phase standpoint, we're really talking about sitting down and asking myself a lot of questions. We just did a webinar last month on 4 questions that we should ask ourselves to make 2015 a great year. Question number 1, what do we want to do that's what's working, how to do more of it? Question 2, what's not working, how do we get rid of it? Question 3, what do we do that's new? What do we want to do that's big? It's question number 4. So those are just 4 questions that we use for planning. We have got a new tool in hand, which is a forecasting tool that I may do a webinar on, or at least a video on here in the next couple of weeks, that walks through literally how do I plan my year from the standpoint of what am I going to sell this year? Who are my primary clients? How much business am I going to get from them? What products are they going to buy? Who are my highest level of prospects? How am I going to get them to the next level of relationship? All of those things become part of a plan, if you will, that allows us to get really clear about what kind of results are we going to deliver in 2015 and exactly where are those results going to come from and how am I going to go get those results. One of the things that we are getting ready to do, and I'm going to crank out a couple of short videos on stuff like who is your ideal client? What is the avatar of your ideal client? I'm going to talk about that later on in this webinar, but I really have three ideal clients. One is the brand new sales rep who's never had any sales training. All right, that's an ideal client for me. The second one is a sales rep that's kind of what I call stuck in the middle. They're not at the top, but they're not at the bottom, and they're stuck in that middle ground because they either don't know what to do, they can't do it, or they won't do it. And so that's a really good client for us. And then another ideal client for me in this business is a client that is at the top and trying to stay there. All right, so those are ideal clients. There's an avatar for each one of those. And when we get clear about what our ideal client looks like and what that avatar is, then we can go after them. Part of that exercise is saying, what does our worst client avatar look like and how do I avoid them? When we do that in our workshops, I can tell you salespeople have this aha experience. I typically break them into two groups and have half of the team talk about what does the ideal client look like, and the other half of the team talks about what do our worst clients look like. And reality is when you list all of the things that look like the ideal client, the flip side of that are the things that are the worst clients, and they'll walk away from there going, you know what? I don't want to spend my time working with a bunch of worse clients anymore. I want to spend my time building a business that's built around ideal clients so that I get a good return on investment for my time, if you will. And so planning can be as simple as asking those 4 questions we did in last month's webinar, or it can be as complicated as exactly where am I going to sell to this year? How much am I going to sell to them? What products am I going to sell to them? Who are my prospects? Where are they in the pipeline? How do I move them to the next level? It can be as simple or as complicated, but it really tees up the rest of the steps in the sales process. So good question there, Bill. Does that make sense? Does that help a little bit there? Okay. Effectively influencing closing, big parts. Yes, they are. I would tell you this, influencing and handling objections is huge. Matter of fact, we did a webinar here a while back about handling objections and how you can avoid objections by doing a good job of planning, prospecting, first impressions, qualifying, and demonstrating. It can eliminate a bunch of objections by doing a good job of that. Closing, our secret to closing is no secret at all. It's simply the next logical step at the client's pace. And we're getting ready to do a webinar on that as well. So you'll see some of that stuff coming. What's a good indicator of effective influence being implemented? A really good indicator of that is that the client is ready to move to the next logical step at their pace. All right. When somebody doesn't believe in our value, they don't see the value to what we're saying, that's where the objections come from. And so it typically means we have not built enough value, or we don't have enough value for that client in the first place, which we can eliminate by doing a good job of planning, prospecting, first impressions, and qualifying. So a good indicator is that they're ready to move to the next logical step at their pace. All right, good questions, guys. All right, let's move on to the next step here. Okay, so the key number 1 is executing consistent process. That's what we teach. You'll be seeing a lot of this in more depth as the year progresses. Key number 2, one of my favorite subjects. All right, value-based selling and having what I would call an organized mastery of our value. All right. Now, again, we could spend an entire day doing a value-based sales training program. I'm just going to kind of give you an overview to give you an idea of what it is we need to learn how to do. First thing is we organize our value propositions around issue, action, impact. In other words, what's the problem the client has? What is it we do about it? And why should that client care about what we do about it? Now, most salespeople, most unconscious competents have a pretty good idea of what the client's problems are. They have a pretty good idea of what it is they do about it, features and benefits and everything. But what we typically don't do well is communicate why should they care. All right. And in today's marketplace, more than ever, particularly if you're in an industrial sales or automotive sales or real estate, whatever you sell, the client wants to know about the economics of that sale. All right. And so we really work hard on in the workshop about understanding return on investment for the client as a way of communicating impact, or why should they care? So when we look at some of those workshops we'll do down the road and the webinars, we'll be diving into really organizing issue, action, impact. And we're going to organize it around 3 particular levels. Level 1 is what is the value that our company brings to the table. And I know so many of you out there already, I know you pretty well. You work for small companies, you work for gigantic companies. There's all different kinds of companies in there represented on the webinar today. But we have to look at what value does my company bring to the table. And I'll give you an example. I'm basically a one-man show with some virtual assistants and consultants on board as I need them. It's a lot less expensive and a lot fewer headaches, quite frankly. And I work really well this way. So I'm a one-man show. What's the value my company brings to the table? A couple of things. One is I have 1,100 plus clients I've worked for. 1,100 plus clients that I would call part of my client family from the standpoint of consulting, speaking, and training. Those clients, all right, I have amassed over 22 years. So I have experience, knowledge, I have expertise in a couple of areas that some of my peers do not have, particularly in designing programs for large companies like Halliburton and PricewaterhouseCoopers and AkzoNobel, and putting together large consulting teams. Those are the benefits of my company. Now, if you work for AkzoNobel, some of you guys are out there with AkzoNobel. I mean, you guys are the world's largest manufacturer of paint and protective coatings. Largest in the world. The most R&D, the most financial stability behind you, sales reps with great talent and skill set, particularly because of their sales training, he said, wink, wink, nod, nod. Also, you have facilities all over the world. So if somebody paints a boat in Seattle and they sell that boat to China and they have a problem with the coatings on it, you guys got people in China that can take care of that. So every company has strengths. There's strengths in being big, all right? There are strengths in being small. We need to understand what's the value that our company brings to the table and be able to communicate that. The second level is what is the value that our product and service brings to the table. All right, what value does each and every one of our products and services bring to the table? And that's where Tiger Woods' example comes into play. If you've got 14 clubs in your bag or products, or you've got 114, or you've got 14,000 clubs in the bag, learning how to master those and understand how they serve clients from the standpoint of issue, action, impact is what a pro does. All right. And then the last value proposition, which in a workshop is crazy to me, people just scratch their head and they struggle to understand, what's the value you bring to the table? All right. And we're going to talk a lot about this year, understanding what's the value that you personally bring to the table for your clients. And I want you to know that. I want you to know that so well that becomes your brand, and that brand would cause you to be able to say, when a client says, so why should I buy your product over Joe's product? That you'd be able to say, because you get me, and know that you indeed do bring so much value to the table that the price difference is justified because they're doing business with you and you're a pro. All right. So those are the 3 levels: the company level, product service level, and personal level. And then there are 2 types of value propositions. One is what we call a Me Too. That's where we do the same thing everybody else does. But here's the deal. If I tell the story better than you do, if I ask all the right questions, I learn about their business, I use my expertise to present the product in a way that tells the story better than you do, my product will appear to have an advantage. That's why I want to be a master of all of my products, including my Me Too products, all right? But then we have products that we call hammers. And that's why I had that graphic on here. A hammer is where we do something that other people don't do. We have a product or service that other people don't have. And the best example I'll share with you comes from my guys at AkzoNobel. Those of you who are on the phone call, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's a product called InterSleek 900. You paint a boat with it. Now, they paint gigantic ocean-going vessels like cruise ships and cargo ships and what have you. You paint a vessel with it. The vessel picks up 2 knots an hour. All right? You just simply paint the boat with it, and the vessel will pick up 2 knots an hour in speed because the paint is so slick. The paint is also biocide free, which all of the other products on the market require biocides to kill stuff that sticks to the boat so that they can be faster, but yet we're still 2 knots faster with no biocides. Everybody else has to paint the boat 3 times, once every 3 years. We only paint the boat once every 5 years. All right. And the closest product to us is 5 years behind the curve. Folks, that's what I call a hammer. It sells for $1,200 a gallon. You could easily make the case that you could sell it for $2,000 a gallon, and the client would still get a 3-to-1 return on investment for the product that they buy. All right. That's a hammer. They have 5 or 6 other products like that are similar. What are our hammers? And by the way, when we determine what our hammer is, that's what we use to go open new doors. That's what we go use to prospect with. We don't prospect with me toos, which too many of us do. We go in there, we're trying to sell the product everybody else is selling, as opposed to opening doors with products where we have an advantage. Now, you'll have to look at the work that you do to determine what's the value that you bring, what's the advantage that you bring. The advantage may only be in you. And by the way, if you have not listened to the master sales interview I did with Robert Rice, Robert sells chemicals, all right? That is as much a commodity as anything has ever been. He actually works in the same company that my son works in. Jason sells them as well. I was interviewing Robert, and he was talking about what he sells and everything. And I said, so Robert, you sell a commodity, all right? That's kind of a disadvantage. How do you get around that disadvantage? Robert said this. He said, I don't think it's a disadvantage. And I blurted out on the interview, and if you listen to it, you'll hear it. I blurted out, okay, I'm listening, in my best Ron White style. He said, when the products are exactly the same and there's 1/10 of a cent or 100th of a cent between the two, all right, that's when what I bring to the table causes me to win more than you will, because I'm better than you are. I take care of my customers better. I love it when the product's a commodity, because how well I take care of my customers stands out even more. And I was like going, oh my gosh, I wish I'd learned that 20 years ago. So anyway, 2 types of value propositions: me toos, which if we tell a better story than our competitor does, we know how to really ask all the right questions, so we're presenting the right product and everything. My me toos can have an advantage. And then there is what we call the hammers. We all have those. If you're selling a commodity, okay, maybe you don't have a product hammer, but you should be that hammer, and that's why sales mastery matters, okay? So key number 3 is 6 levels of relationship, and we're kind of beginning to run along here, so I'll speed it up a little bit. I don't think speed it up much more, but 6 levels of relationship, and we want to be intentional about building what we call high return on investment relationships. So here are the 6 levels real quick. Level 1, they don't even know us. They don't know me, or they don't know my company, or they don't know me and my company. Level 2 is we're known, which means they know our company and or they know me, okay, but they're not buying anything from us. Level 3 is what we call the vendor level, all right? Now, the vendor level is simply where I have gone through whatever process I need to go through. In some of the large companies that we do business with, you got to fill out all kinds of paperwork just to be approved as a vendor. Okay, doesn't mean they're necessarily buying anything from me yet. They may be buying a little bit from me yet, but I just simply am on a vendor list somewhere, which means I have been qualified for them to buy from. Now, the next level is supplier. Okay, I'm not just on the list, but they're buying stuff from me. All right, and they're buying stuff, maybe a lot of stuff, and regularly from me and everything. But I'm considered a supplier by my client at that point in time. Now, level 5. All right. Here's where I become a partner with them. Now, a partner is somebody who is working with that client to create solutions and ideas to solve problems and to bring new ideas to the table that help that client with what's the problem, what do you do about it, why should I care? Now, the relationship that a customer has with a partner is significantly more effective than the relationship they would have with a supplier, all right? We want to be at that partner level where they see us as somebody who is supplying not just product, but ideas and solutions, and side by side with them on the same side of the fence, as opposed to an adversary supplier on the other side of the fence. That's what we want to do when we're a partner. And then the next level is what we call advisor. Now, first question I get all the time is, what's the difference between partner and advisor? Partner sounds pretty good to me. Yes, it is. It's not the ultimate, though. Advisor means I am working with them in advance of the need to buy product, right? As a partner, they're coming to me and say, I've got a challenge. Tell me what you've got. As an advisor, we're on the front end of all of that, talking about, well, let's look at what needs to be done so that when we spec out the product, you get what you need. Right? An advisor would be the first person to tell a client, you know what, I don't have the right product for you today. As a matter of fact, you ought to go to ABC Company. They actually have the right product for you, and they'll take great care of you. I know those guys, they do a good job over there. An advisor would tell a customer to go somewhere else if they couldn't make them happy, and they would know where that client ought to go. So there's a difference between partner and advisor. The big jump here, though, is between levels 5 and 6. All right. The big return on investment for our time is at level 5 and 6. In order to get there, we start talking value from the beginning, and we start talking about relationship building, and we'll do that in February, I believe. We were doing a content calendar the other day. We're going to talk about some of this in February. And our goal's got to be to drive every client from to level 5 and 6. We teach in our workshops that you look at your client base, you identify who your 5s and 6s are, you take care of them first, then you look at the rest of your clients and you ask yourself, what can I do to drive everybody else to level 5 and 6? And then you look at those clients that will never be level 5 and 6. And I actually probably overstate this sometimes by saying I don't have time for them, nor do you. And I've kind of softened that a little bit to say, if I have any time left over after I take care of my 5s and 6s, after I work to drive everybody else that I believe can be a 5 and 6 there, if I have time left over, that's what I give to those people that will never be a level 5 or 6. And quite frankly, that's probably not a lot of time if we're doing a good job of the other 2 steps there. So key number 3 is driving these levels of relationship. And then key number 4 is becoming a sales gladiator. Now, this is kind of a product of our own benchmarking research we've done through the years. We've done literally hundreds of benchmarks with 5 to 8 top performers, and we're measuring behaviors which do not, cannot, have not, will not ever predict performance. We're measuring motivators. They do, to some extent, help us with a little bit with performance, but what we're really measuring are 23 core skills and core competencies. Of those, there are 5 that rise to the top, and quite frankly, if we master these 5, we'll be outstanding at what we do. Those 5 are resiliency, ability to bounce back from adversity, personal accountability. I do what I say I'm going to do because I said I would. Self-management, which means we run our sales business like it was a small entrepreneurial business. Business owners make decisions that employees do not make. They invest time and energy that employees do not invest. And so we're telling our salespeople to treat your sales territory, your sales like a small business and act like an owner, not an employee. Interpersonal skills, the ability to effectively connect and communicate with all different kinds of buyers and personality types, and we do teach that. And then the last thing is continuous learning, being invigorated and committing to your own growth, which is what you guys are doing today. So when we look at those 5 core skills, what we tell everybody is, okay, if you master those, if you really get the big 5 right, you can forget everything else we're teaching. All right, because you'll go learn all that other stuff. So at the end of the day, there's 4 keys. All right. Key number 1, executing consistent process. Even if it doesn't seem glamorous, trust me, if you'll do that, you'll become outstanding at what you do. Key number 2, all right, value-based selling. Understand our value and be able to effectively communicate that with different buyer types. 3, all right, is intentionally building level 5 and 6 high return on investment relationships. And 4 is becoming at a core level extraordinary at what we do. All right. So any questions? Let me see if we got any questions out there. Comments, make sense. Dumbest thing I ever heard. What do you guys got for me out there? Let me see. All right. Laura says, are you saying that you can be effective if you only master one of these keys or the combination of all? Great question, Laura. If I did not communicate that well, we have to master all of them. All right. If we leave any one of these out, we'll never get to where we need to be. Does it seem daunting? To some extent, yes, I would say it is. But here's what I tell you. If you were 50% at all of these, you'd be better than most. If you were in pursuit of all of these, you'd probably be number one in your sales force. All right. That's how few people are absolutely extraordinary at what they do. I will tell you this, and those of you who are in sales management out there would probably bear this out. I will ask a sales manager with 100 sales reps, how many extraordinary salespeople do you have? And the answer is typically this: 3, 4, maybe 5. All right. That's how many out of 100 are absolutely extraordinary. So if you simply pursued mastery of those 4, I think you'd probably be better than most of the people that you compete with or that you're on the same team with. So yes, I believe to fully be a master of it, we've got to have all 4 of these pieces together. And while it is complicated and may seem a little daunting, I will tell you this: it actually will make everything we do easier. You'll get a higher return on investment for your time, which is your inventory. Your inventory as a sales rep is your time. Your inventory as a small business owner is your time. It's not products. It's not services. It's time. And so if we master all of these, we will get a higher return on investment for our time, actually have to work less in order to make more. Then it's simply a matter of how much do you want to make? How successful do you want to be? So good question there. Awesome. Let's see. For level 5 and 6 relationship, if a hard client to discern, ask them for examples of their most trusted suppliers and providers and why. Then use that list of whys. Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. Couldn't agree more. Somebody said it's a great reminder of what we should already know, but I think we all need regular reminders. I'm reminded of this as little as 5% improvement will vault us above the competition. Absolutely, Bill. Couldn't agree more. And you know, it's a reminder of what we already know, but it's that difference between an unconscious competent and a conscious competent. We already know it, but am I consistently applying it and using it? Am I trying to get better at it? That's really what we're focusing on. That's what we're going to be talking about all year long. That's what we're going to be focusing on in all our deals. So why should you care? I think there are a couple of reasons why. First thing is, if you're the best of the best, you're going to have more control over your career. I will tell you this, and those of you who know me have heard me say this in workshops. My primary motivator growing up, my background in sales and sales management at IBM and Xerox, my primary motivator was the ability to look at my boss and go, is there a problem with my numbers? All right. In 17 years, I was never below quota. 17 years, never below quota. And my primary motivator was to be able to look at my boss and go, is there a problem with my numbers? No, leave me alone. All right, go bug the people that are at 70% of quota. Leave me alone. And those of you, I've got people on here that are in the car business. You know this. If you're steadily cranking out 20, 25 cars a month, the bosses don't mess with you. You can come in when you want to. If you want to take a Saturday off to go watch your kid play Little League or something like that, your boss isn't going to give you a hard time. If you're working for the right company, if you're not, let me know, because I can get you in the right people that treat you right. The bottom line is this: we have more control over our career and over our self-satisfaction if we're one of the best of the best. And by the way, I told my son a long time ago, if you're really good at what you do, you'll always have a job, particularly if you're in sales. All right. So control is one of the motivators that I think why we should care. Second thing is money. All right. Just plain out, you get really good at this, you're going to make more money. That's all there is to it. And you can make as much money as you want to in this business. I know extraordinarily successful salespeople that make $70,000 a year who doing any other job couldn't make $40,000 a year. I also work with a sales team up in Dallas that sells SAP applications and other IT solutions where their top salespeople make $500,000 a year. Okay. So there's everything in between there that if we really master what we do, there's no limit to how much money we can make. And then at the end of the day, it's really about helping other people too. All right. If we're really, really good at sales, we'll help more people. And I love what Zig Ziglar said once: you can have anything you want if you help enough other people get what they want. In reality is, I think we should care because it should be all of the above. Okay, it really should be all of the above. So I've got a poll for you. I'm going to find out really quick what you're motivated by. Let me launch this poll, And I want to have you answer, why would you want to be a sales master? Okay. And so you got 4 choices there. Pick one of those and let me know which one motivates you. I just want to get a sense real quick of where you guys are motivated by. So take a second and hit that poll. Yep. Okay. Good. Got an honest person out there already hitting money. Good deal. Okay. Oh, you guys are taking the easy route out. No control freaks? Am I the only one? Oh, now I feel embarrassed. Okay. I'll give you 5 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Close the poll. Literally nobody hit control. All right, now I feel bad. Okay. 1 person hit money. Good deal. 20% help others, and 60% of you took the high road and clicked off all of the above. All right, good for you. Okay, nothing wrong with that. Now, let me kind of wrap things up here and we'll get out of here and let you guys get back to work. Here's our hope for you in 2015. This is really what I want. First thing is, I said a while ago, if you're new, I want to give you the tools to build a foundation to be extraordinary at sales. I want to start you down that road of building a sales career and life that you really want. So if you're new and you've never had any training, I want to provide that for you here in 2015. If you are what I call stuck in the middle, all right, you've been at it a while and you're stuck in the middle, which I think is the worst place to be. We're not at the top, all right? We're not at the bottom. If you're at the bottom and you've been doing it a while, just go do something else, okay? Don't do sales, do something else, because you're probably running off a bunch of people that need your product. But if you're kind of stuck in the middle and you're not the best of the best, I think that's the worst place to be, because we look at everybody that is enjoying the lifestyle of being extraordinary, and either because we don't know, can't do, or won't do, we're not there. If you're stuck in the middle this year, I want to get you out of there. I want to help you get to the top. I want you to make your plan this year to master this so that you can be number one. And then the third group is you're at the top and you're wanting to stay there. All right. And that's a tough gig, because we get to the top, a lot's expected. It's hard to stay there. But I don't want you to just stay there. If you're at the top right now, you're really good at what you do. I want you to blow what the expectations are away. I want you to be so extraordinary at it this year that you could just absolutely blow everything away. So that's our hope this year, is that you'll do that and that you'll pursue being a sales master and build the life and the career that you deserve and that you want. Okay. Questions? Anybody have any questions? I know I asked you some just a second ago. Questions about this webinar, what we talked about, where we're headed, anything like that? Try to keep these right at an hour. Any questions? No questions. Okay. All right. So I do want to do this. I've not done it in the past. I'm going to do it. I was actually kind of embarrassed about it. We do have a special going right now. If you're not one of our in the sales arena premium members, okay, we have a special. First thing is, we're going to be doing 100 sales training events this year. All right. There'll be 52 podcasts, 24 sales training webinars like this, 12 live coaching calls. Next week, we're going to do our webinar. Will be a live coaching call. We're going to answer your toughest questions, and 12 master sales interviews. Plus, if you know me, we're going to be tossing in all kinds of additional things for you as well. So there's 100 sales training events this year. It's $99 for an entire year. All right. You get everything we've got for a year, including the blogs and all the other stuff. Or you can pay it by month if you want to, $14.95 a month. And there's a 30-day free trial. If you go sign up and everything, you'll get 30 days to try it out. And if you don't like it, we won't charge you a dime. Okay. We want you to make sure that this is what you want. And so we'd encourage you to give it a go and everything. You'll find that offer, if you will, at thesalesgladiators.com/gift of sales. All right. If you want to join us this year and get all of our premium events, 100 sales training events this year, that's where it's at. That's the price is the lowest we're ever going to have. That's good through the 16th. And again, I don't want to make too big of a sales pitch here. I'm not really comfortable doing it in the first place. I got to get better at that, and people are trying to teach me. So, but bottom line is, I know it's going to be good stuff, and we can help you accomplish that goal of becoming a sales master. So, thanks a lot. Appreciate you guys. Hope you enjoyed it. I will take some time this afternoon, get this produced, and then as soon as I get it all set and done, I will send you a link to this webinar so that you can review it. People ask me from time to time, do you mind if I share it? I don't. I really don't. You're welcome to share this with somebody else. If they get some benefit out of it, that's fine. I would encourage you to have them at least sign up for our free stuff, become a subscriber to our free stuff, or sign up for our paid stuff and ask them or encourage them to sign up as well. So that's it. There's our contact information. If you have any questions, let me know. Any questions I can answer before we sign off here? Any comments? Do me a favor, was this helpful for you? Oh, thanks a lot. I appreciate it, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. Any other comments, any other questions before we sign off here? I'll give you a few more seconds. And oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad it was helpful, Laura. I appreciate it. Anybody else? Okay, guys. Hey, I appreciate it very much. You guys have a good one, and go do something significant today, this week, so that you can, again, build the life, build the career that you want. And if we can help you in any way, let us know. By the way, let me do that real quick. It would be helpful for us if you would go to thesalesgladiators.com/QIF and let us know what would help you. Tell us what kind of subjects you would like for us to cover. What are your toughest sales questions? What are the toughest objections you deal with? That page is dedicated for you to give us questions, insights, or feedback. And I would really appreciate it if you'd take a moment or two to go there and let us know how we could be helpful to you. So you guys have a great week. I hope we'll see you on the coaching call next week. Let me know what we can do to help you. Take care. And again, have a great week.